Welcome to our new series,
Cosmic Monday.
It's almost time for the Cosmic Summit 2025 in Greensboro, North Carolina, June 20th to the 23rd.
Hey, we're generating excitement for the event, guys, by bringing you engaging interviews with some of the speakers and guests from this year's outstanding lineup.
So press in the promo code
Multiverse
to get 10% off your passes to meet, greet, and rub elbows with some of the biggest names on the cutting edge of suppressed and forgotten science,
human origins, and the history of planet Earth.
Join Mike and Dave at the Cosmic Summit,
where truth seekers go to party.
Sometimes, I don't know, in the wider conference room, surely, but you can actually kind of make news too.
Because sometimes the most important question that aren't being asked in the mainstream, and this summit gives us a space to ask them. And of course, I'm also looking forward to meeting people, both old friends and I hope lots of new friends also, that I can share the same curiosity.
I have a huge announcement if y'all want to get into it.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go right to it.
I have been in very good touch now with the Italian researchers behind the CAFRE project, right? And they're coming to Greensboro. And they're going to reveal entirely new information to a global audience.
What do you think the role of content creators like your Ben Van Kerkwicks, Wandering Wolf, Michael Collins, as far as bringing these topics to a wider audience?
Oh, it's great. I mean, without Ben, I don't think we'd be in the position we're at. I've met so many people.
Goodness, well, who doesn't have a fascination with the pyramids? Once you start learning about all of these things, well, what do you do with it?
A woman contacted me and told us a story about an artifact that her husband found 50 years ago working on a construction site. And it's an Egyptian artifact. And I have to tell you, this artifact is really, really interesting. But what the hell is it doing in Texas?
Can be passively accepted, spoon-fed models of reality.
Mm-hmm.
People who are willing to think independently, outside the box, free thinkers who are coming together going, you know what? I think that this story of human civilization and human life on this planet is far deeper and far more complex than we've been told.
We are very proud to introduce our friend George Howard to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
You're welcome. I wanted to just start by, saying how like we've mentioned this on the podcast before, but Cosmic Summit on George's hat is sort of the birthplace of Mike and Dave's Multiverse, right?
Absolutely.
We met in the elevator on the way up when we checked in, and on the elevator on the way down to the bar area to socialize. And so Mike and I just ended up hanging out all weekend, and that's somehow that moment led to George Howard coming on our podcast, who is the promoter of Cosmic Summit.
That's right. Hey, where are you two from?
We both live in Georgia.
You both live in Georgia. Okay, I knew somebody was from Georgia. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got it all straight. And if y'all met at the Cosmic Summit, man, you're my brothers. Okay.
Yeah, and that's... Go
I
ahead, Mike.
distinctly remember Luke and Johanna did a live stream after the summit. It was actually, I watched it after I got home. I drove home and started unpacking my suitcase. And they were doing a live stream from the hotel room. I was like, oh, that's cool. I was just there. And towards the end of that, they said, join us. If you want to do this, start making videos, figure out what you're interested in, and start making content about it. And I bookmarked that. I sort of tagged that file to for later. And sure enough, a few months later, Dave texted me and said, hey, you ready to start a podcast? And I was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, it's a golden age for this stuff. And of course, everybody goes, well, everybody's got a podcast now. Well, who the hell cares? I mean, jump in if you're interested. Now, people shouldn't feel, I feel sorry for people that are like notable people in their community or something. And people are like, do a podcast. And they're like, I don't want to do a podcast. Sounds like a big pain in the ass, but if it's something you love.
Yeah. I had always thought, like, I had inspiration from guys like Jimmy Corsetti. I've been following his channel for a long time, but I never really thought I'd have a podcast. I was just having like a day where I was connected to the universe, and I was like, you know what? I could start a podcast. I texted Mike. He happened to be on the same vibe, and
it's an interesting time. It's a golden age for communication,
for
and
sure.
We kind of bounce around between modern, like really like super modern topics, ancient history topics, weather topics, outer space topics,
little UFOs, right?
We do a little UFOs or UAP. We like to follow the modern UAP disclosure stuff more than like go super woo woo on the UAP. And one of the things we've been doing is trying to book guests for this year's Cosmic Summit, and we've been doing a pretty darn good job about that.
Here they are.
Yeah, show it front.
Actually, you know, these are downloadable too. I put that on the website this year. I always think, you know, but yeah, you can go get that. And if anybody wants to repost it or anything like that, and also the program's up there, but it's a constantly shifting beast.
Yeah.
But I have a huge announcement if y'all want to get into it.
Yeah, let's go.
Go right to it.
Huge announcement. I don't say that lightly because I'm not, for being a pitch man, I'm not a good enough one. But like, just say huge announcement when it's not huge. You know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. But this is legit. Thank you for showing the program. Thank you very much, man. So y'all might have caught wind of it, but I have been in very good touch now with the Italian researchers behind the Caffrey project, right? And they're coming to Greensboro, and they're going to reveal entirely new information to a global audience at the Cosmic Summit at 1:30, June 21st, Saturday after lunch.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's not even on the schedule yet, correct? Or is it?
Things are moving so fast. No, it's not.
Wow.
But it's all over X. I'm sending out press releases and all this stuff. So I'm publicizing it without properly publicizing it, but like need to get the press release up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are coming to the summit, man, which is, believe me, when you're having an event that's lost money for a couple years in a row, and it was looking okay this year, but looking okay, it still keeps you up at night. I hope, I'm being really selfish. Like, I'm not even talking pyramids. First thing I'm saying is I hope these guys can save my ass, right? Because I think it's interesting as hell. And I would buy a ticket. I damn well would.
Yeah, same.
Obviously, I'm that kind of guy. I don't go to a whole lot of conferences, but whatever. This would get me off my ass, because you would both have, let's talk about all the old subjects that we love and we're constantly gaining better understanding of, most of which happened long ago, and that's the fun of it. You can't go find any direct evidence, and it's interpretation and all of that. And that's what conferences are for the most part. Sometimes, I don't know, in the wider conference room, surely, but you can actually kind of make news too, you know, with the right people at the right time. And that's just getting lucky. You can't whip up news, right? But they are gentlemen. The intermediaries were gentlemen, which include Trevor Grossi and Jay Anderson. And Jay Anderson's coming from Project Unity. And Trevor,
I saw that. It was my assumption that the Italians were going to be on video like Danny Hillman was last year, but they're coming.
Yeah, that's what changed between you when you saw that tweet, probably, and then a couple of days later. Now we have we're flying them to Greensboro, them and their wives. I assume it's two plus two.
Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
And
it's new information.
It's new information, and it's good stuff. And you know, my gut says, and I got a pretty good gut. I like to think I do. I've been following this stuff for a long time, and I'm getting older, you know, so I've been disappointed many times and all that kind of stuff. Pretty good at reading scientific papers, right? And judging people's character, I think, like we all are. And if you go watch the two gentlemen, Armando May and Filippo Biondi, on either of the two podcasts they've been on, they you know, it lends credibility to it, just in that way that's kind of hard to describe. But you add it all up, and you're like, I mean, there are only so many options here. The people who are calling them out and out frauds are just flat wrong. No one takes a 30-year career in a extremely dense, highly technical field like radar tomography and its various applications and whatnot, and then just up and decides, let's go ahead and it depends, willfully or maybe mistakenly. You could still mistakenly misinterpret something. There's always that lane, and then we still could have that lane with these guys. But willfully mislead the public when you have an established academic career and you're representing a damn university in the press release, no. You get your pension taken and stuff. You whatever, and people that can't think that through drive me crazy. But most people seem to their credit, a lot of people have looked at it, look like they're coming in swinging, and then say, I can't really rule it out, but I don't like the graphics. I don't know how closely y'all are following this stuff.
Yeah, we've been following very closely
For the last 3 weeks. So for anybody that's listening,
and damn, it made huge global news, you know. And I got right on it. I was up in New York too, man, and I was like, "Oh God, I got to get in touch with this Trevor Grassi guy." You know.
We emailed him the first weekend. Brittany did, probably with 1,000 other people, but we were among that, initial wave.
He actually was gracious enough to respond to us. He said he's coming in hot, and he said that he'll get to us.
Oh,
he really appreciates
with him
it.
yet. That I believe me, I've already asked. But we've had some nice exchanges, and I just wanted to confirm, like the most recent one was, out of respect for them, I said, hey, I sent them a press release and said, hey, look this over. And then I looked it over and whatnot. And I said, it doesn't say that they're going to reveal new information. It doesn't say it directly. And I'd like to put that in there if it's true. So I got to go, but you don't know. You kind of assume there's going to be some new information, but who knows? Maybe they got a conference the week before that they're setting up in Italy. And so it's kind of an awkward email to write, but I was like, hey, Donna, it
needs to be correct either way. It's one of those things. It's gotta...
Are y'all going to release some new information at this thing? I'm just asking. If you're not, it's just fine, and just ask respectfully because it depends on how we kind of market it, right?
Sure, for sure.
And he sent me back the nicest email, and I just included the quote in the press release, so I won't go read it and stuff now, but yeah, unequivocally, they're going to release new information. And I have no idea what it is. I'd imagine I'm going to do a lot of kind of asking them before, as we get closer and closer, be like, come on, man.
Give me a little hint.
Come on. I'm good at keeping scientific paper secrets. I really am. I got to do it with the younger Burt with the Comet Research Group for 2 decades.
Yeah.
Where you got that. Yeah.
How about Johanna James breaking the story, basically, almost? She's the first one I saw it on, and then she's the first one to talk to Trevor Grassi as well.
It even impressed her.
We showed a clip
and she's hard to impress. Somebody that's had a lot of million-view videos and been in the biz and all of that. She was like, she was on my podcast on Monday. It's not out yet. But she was like, astounded. She did a TikTok, and it got 16 million views.
Woo! Brittany, we need to do a TikTok on the
And well, it's all timing and credit to her, and that shows that she's a professional. I mean, she's also pregnant and got other things to do now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Johanna. Scott Walter, we interviewed him on Tuesday, and he was really singing her praise as well. He really was talking about how well she's able to synthesize information and then present it in a very digestible way to
she's priceless. She's priceless. And she should be, you used to say, on a big TV show. But now there's so many different things. But I mean, she's going to take off at some point. I mean, there still are good TV shows. She should be leading. Her and Luke Caverns. I just thought they'd make a great pair. And I don't mean to speak for them, but I'm just a fan too, But I just think they'd be a great pair on some kind of international adventure show, man.
They did start a podcast. They recently released about 10 or 12 episodes. I've listened to most of them.
Somebody needs to give them a hand up, I mean, why? A lot of people watch this stuff, and I know that. She's got a successful career and everything, but she loves this stuff. She'd just be a great host on something on the History Channel.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure that'll come their way without question because they're both, they're both talented.
It happens to the talented people who put themselves out there.
Including y'all.
I had seen where Luke and the Snake Bros were doing a thing where they would go to a museum. They'd meet up, go to a museum together, show you around. I guess eat some dinner afterwards or something over in Texas where they're at. We ought to do something like that in Atlanta.
Yeah.
For sure.
We did it in New York. We did a live stream from New York 2 weekends ago. And walked around a museum, and I did some live stuff there just a little bit, but we got a whole bunch of canned stuff. Good interview. Walking around the Egyptian wing of the Met, right?
Yeah. How'd that go?
With Adam Young. So the neat thing to me, and when I describe the pre-dynastic Egyptian vessels, I'm gonna start calling them vessels. But
I like it better.
Yeah, vases just, I don't know.
It doesn't quite do them justice, does it?
It doesn't. You picture something you'd put a flower in, and none of them look like you'd put a flower in. It's not that kind of vase.
No,
bowls,
not at all.
Maybe bowls. But
I'm going with vessels.
Vessels? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave. Okay. We're going to start. Yeah.
Vials. Some of them are small enough to be vials.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
and that's life size. I mean, I've picked this one up before in Matt Bell's office.
Matt Bell has a tremendous collection of those.
So what was I going to say? Oh, we were walking around the Met, and when I describe the vases and the subject in the future, and we'll try to, or I think I'm going to use, it's not an analogy. The way that museum works, you walk in oldest Egypt, and it's not like diorama style but it's oldest stuff first, and then you come all the way out till you're in with a Ptolemaic and then Roman Egypt, right? And everything in between. So when you walk into it, what is the very first thing? These.
Right.
Tiny, perfectly symmetrical tolerances within thousands of what people could measure.
And
it would be a challenge to manufacture something like that today. We haven't done an in-depth dive on these pre-dynastic
on the show, but
this is one of the biggest out of place artifact.
Oh, it's the best out of place artifact deal. That's a great way to put it, because a lot of those things aren't as accessible. They're like, somebody found a spoon inside a piece of coal in Pennsylvania, and you're like, what do you do with this? Right? But if you've got these things sitting in museums around the world, and now we have tools that can actually measure their perfection. This is an interesting take on it, because I have kind of dived real deep on it, just went up there into this whole thing. And, but if you can't make something to a standard and not have a tool, a measurement tool that can measure to that standard, to get something that kind of perfect, you have to have a perfect measuring tool. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. And in fact, to have a measuring tool that perfect didn't exist before 20 or 30 years ago. And now it's the point cloud scanners are the most accurate measuring equipment in the world for a 3D object. And that's what it would take. It would take one of those, unless inherent in your manufacturing process was perfection, and you didn't ever have to pull a tape on it or level it, or it just which means it's manifested in some way. I mean, whatever. But I don't know. I guess it is taking the world by storm a little bit, and we're going to have a hands-on thing at the Cosmic Summit. We're going to have more vases on public display than anywhere in the world.
Wow. Awesome. Amazing. My first look at those was through Ben Van Kerkwick's work, who's also...
Pick one up again, George. Please pick one up and put it front and center of the camera for just a moment. I'm not a machinist myself, but we did have a machinist on the show.
And actually, guys, because I might be talking over a lot of the audience, not talking over them, but assuming people know. So these things, these objects are from pre-dynastic Egypt. That's the first stop in understanding them. And that means it's before the pharaohs, before the stuff. They ain't no hieroglyphs. There's no very little art to speak of. Some of their pottery's painted, but you call them the oh God, it escaped me.
Yeah,
Regatta people is the name they use at the Met. There are a couple of different names. I forget that somebody credible was using a different one the other day. But just nothing known about them. Not a lot left behind. You got bone tools in there, and maybe a couple of copper chisels, and mud brick houses. Right? They lived in mud brick houses. But then intermixed in their grave goods are the vessels carved from solid granite, not pottery. Right? You're not turning this on a wheel. You can make something that looks just like this on a wheel. No, well, not just like this, but yeah, that's right. You can, yeah. So the first stop, just remember, this is somebody, you take a block of solid granite and then you take away everything, but including the interior and whatnot. And then when it has been measured, it's measured down to microns of perfection in multiple different dimensions.
I mean,
yeah.
So I know that there's thousands of them, right? And they're in varying degrees of precision. How many of them are that precise? Do you know?
My gut, because I've heard both, Matt. It depends on what you're calling that precise. It varies, but there is definitely a class of them where it stretches the limit of those tools.
Yeah,
and not all of them stretch the limit. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I was more referencing the 20 to 30 year like technology that we have today that could possibly measure it, kind of thing. There's only a handful like that precise, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And
it may also depend on how well they were preserved ultimately.
Yeah, they kind of, I think that they kind of smear all that out because they're all beat up, right? Not all of them, but the beat up ones you can use too. You wouldn't want them to be worn, right?
Right.
So, but it's not a wear kind of thing. It's not like granite that somebody's walking on or something, because it could be.
You almost have to classify how beat up or worn down it was before you took the measurements, because what's the use of comparing a very well preserved one to one that's obviously weathered? Because then you get into those micron distances.
That's right. So, yeah, the vases. What else? Oh, well, let's get back to the Italians for a second.
Oh yeah. So if anyone's been paying attention, Dave and I started talking about this about 3 weeks ago, where we were like, all right, we found the news conference, but it's in Italian and we haven't translated it for you yet. So then we got to finding the videos with Johanna and other folks. So we've been covering this. Now you can see the very research team we've been talking about, as well as meeting Dave, Mike, and George at Cosmic Summit in North Carolina in just a couple of months. What could be better than that?
That's awesome, man. Y'all are good at this for some 17 shows, man. Come do voiceovers for me. Seriously.
We're just having fun with it, man.
Yeah, it's fun to act like you're one of those people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I always wanted to have a radio show.
Exactly. It's like, you always wanted to, when you listen to like the college radio station, like, damn, I should go down there and
Yes. We were talking about that because we have our series coming out starting on Monday I don't think it's this Monday. It's in some Monday in May.
Yeah.
We're starting our series Cosmic Monday, where we're releasing interviews with people from the summit. And I was just thinking, like, I want to get like a voiceover that's like Cosmic Monday for the animation.
I love you guys, man. I love you guys. This is perfect timing for me because things got me stressed out now. And just knowing there are two cats out there having Cosmic Monday.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're just having fun with it, man. We're just having as much fun as we can with it.
Well, people got to know. I'll do a little pitch stuff, okay? We got 6 different ticket types. Right.
Yeah,
that goes all the way from, actually, I was saying, the Clovis. I'm
gonna pull up
the
different ticket types. Yeah, let's do it.
We just released a new one, Comet Pass. Good God, it was the Clovis, the next one up. So the Comet Pass, I think it's kind of interesting because it's a day pass, and I'd like some locals to come.
Y'all had that one last year. I think it's a great idea.
Exactly, and I didn't think it included lunch, but hell, it includes lunch. Stephanie. It penciled out that we can feed you too. So,
I just love the names of the passes. That's my favorite thing.
Oh man, that's the fun. There's a lot of tedium in these event management, but it's always fun to do things like name something the megafauna pass. That's that is just the herd, you just kind of general attendance, the megafauna. Okay, but you got a Comet Pass, then you got the Clovis Pass.
Oops.
And
let me go back a second.
and I won't bore everybody with all the different kinds of stuff, but it goes all the way up to Anunnaki. We've had several sales of Anunnaki passes, and
Nice.
I'm in touch with those people, and we are at their disposal.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So George, like, what did you just quickly, briefly, if you want to share with the audience, what did you do before you got into all this, and then how the heck did you get into all this?
Well, I appreciate that question, because it's kind of like I'm that part of my life, 30 years in one kind of business that has absolutely nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
And then you do this. It's quite a change. No, but I sold a company. I went to college at Carolina, and then I went and worked in the U.S. Senate for 6 years, right? In D.C., carried the boss's bags. I was a lower level guy, kind of moved my way up. By the time we left, had a subcommittee, for a more junior senator, but really had a big run, and learned a bunch of interesting stuff that helps me to this day. And great post-college thing working on the Hill.
For sure.
And one of the things I learned is there was this thing coming called mitigation banking, because I was the wetlands guy. There are people in the Senate. They're staffers that are like the top communications guy, that everybody reveres, works for so-and-so. So they'll be the top guy in Social Security or the top health lady on the Hill. I was the lousy wetlands guy, where I was running the wetlands bill. But there's a thing called mitigation banking, where if you get a permit to build on a wetland, which is a terrible, terrible thing to get. I mean, it's just a horrendous process. You have to do three things: avoid it, minimize it, and then mitigate it. And then the government, state and federal government, will allow you to get your permit and go and destroy some number of well-defined acres with your highway, your road, your shopping center, your development, or whatever. You must have heard of it, Mike.
That's also, I never heard of mitigation banking before, like a few months ago. And I happened to be going back to school this year studying earth sciences. And one of the seminar speakers gave us a whole hour presentation on mitigation banking. I was like, that's a very obscure, interesting thing. And I was like, oh, I just learned all about that.
I've given so many of those talks, dude. I could give I could give an hour-long mitigation talk right now. Probably I'm on my way, right? Okay, so you got to avoid, minimize, and mitigate. Hey, was the guy a mitigation banker?
He was formerly, and now he works here locally with the university.
I bet I've heard of him. It was very interesting, because I was at the very, very beginning of it and did the first one in North Carolina. When I got into it, there were 6 mitigation banks. And when I got out of it, there were 9,000.
Wow.
And the sorry thing about that is, you say, well, why don't you have a jet then? If you're associated with any kind of industry that grows from one scale to some giant scale, and you were on the scene the whole time, you should fucking be fantastically wealthy. But I got out with my skin. It was a good run. Sold it at sold it for a fantastic price to a fantastic company. But we never took outside money. But what mitigation banking is to get that permit, you've got to avoid, minimize, mitigate. And in order to mitigate, you are welcome to do it yourself, but you have to restore, enhance, or preserve another wetland in the vicinity defined by your watershed. Okay, so that's your obligation to the government, and you better do it before they're going to let you do your project. And what some smart people that I knew, the first ones in Florida and California, had them testify on the Hill about it, had gone to the government and said, hey, we're professional ecologists and land managers and whatnot. Can we go out and fix a piece of land up, and you guys issue us credits, and you'll keep a ledger, I'll keep a ledger, and if somebody needs mitigation, I'll debit my ledger, and you can keep an eye on the mitigation bank, and I'll send you reports each year of how it's doing, and you release me the credits over time to make sure the ecosystem is maturing properly, right? And so to provide safety to the public that it's all going to happen. So a mitigation bank is a location. It's not like a spreadsheet or anything. They're real places. And you go in and find places that are generally farmed and turn them back into wetlands. Fill up all the ditches, take out the levees, put in some microtopography, plant 2,000 trees an acre, and flood it again. And let it return. and you put a permanent conservation easement on it. It is, no one is ever going to touch it again. You can't cut a branch, which is the toughest sell to the landowner. You got to go, okay, I'm going to put a permanent conservation easement on this part of your farm or whatever, because you don't buy the whole farm. We don't need the house and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so we did about 40,000 acres of that. And then species banking, we did, we're in the midst of, over 100,000 acres for the lesser prairie chicken. So my first mitigation bank was right down the road here in East North Carolina. And we still own part of a company out west, and we're selling endangered species in New Mexico, man. And
wow.
Yeah. So that's mitigation banking. The company is called Restoration Systems, and it was bought by Davy Tree Company. I'll get the summit here because it does relate, huh? And so Davy Tree, they're 1880 company out of Kent, Ohio, great company, employee owned, 16,000 arborists, and so they bought it and they kept the name, at least to date, and it's kind of their center of gravity for what they call Davy mitigation. So it's really, if you own a closely held company for 25 years, it's like a family,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to just hand your family and your house, what you built over to just anybody.
Right.
And it worked very well. But when it was under letter and all of that, it takes forever to close these things, and you cannot be certain of it the whole time. So it's nerve-wracking. But I got all worried, like you hear people do, when you got to make that 25, 30 year, I'm 59.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm 57 at the time, and I was like, God damn. And I'd always been in this pretty cool business. It's fun to talk about, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Always had to explain it and whatnot, just like the summit. Got another thing where I got to explain
right.
it. That's right. And, but I'm like, who the hell am I going to be? I was George the mitigation banker. And, and I thought, well, if you're like the insurance guy that's going to sell his insurance agency, but the deal is that what you really loved was not insurance. I mean, you enjoyed the business, good family business, but you like to fish, right, is what you liked. Right. Yes. And then he makes a nice little, a nut on the thing. What does he do with the money? You go buy the marina, and then you can sit around and be in business that aligns with what you like. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I get in a business, and it didn't take long. I said, okay, I got to do something with the whole Younger Dryas event, because I've been on a lot of the papers, and I'm kind of a citizen scientist for them. And mute this thing. I'm gonna turn it off. How about that? So I was like, got to do something related to that, and I had thought about having a scientific conference for years. But I had become better friends over the last 10 years with Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock, and Ben and Johanna and Jimmy Corsetti and on, because I didn't have anything to lose, like credibility wise. With the Younger Dryas team, I was one of the few members, like I started a blog in 2010, The Cosmic Tusk, that was to fight back, because they aren't going to fight back. And then, see, this kind of applies to these Coffre guys too.
It sure does.
Trevor was to them as I was to the Younger Dryas team. Right? Where you're the enthusiastic amateur who's actually emailing them before the big news comes out and stuff, and they go, yeah, you can put this out. Right?
Yes.
I mean, I know exactly how that is. And so I started with the science guys and spent years, with them. Then I met all the speculative people, and that's the way I break it down in my head for the summit: scientists and speculators. And try to have, at least a quarter, and I met that this year, of the speakers be PhDs. Bona fide credentialed people. Now, they may be almost surely are heretical in their field, right? At least, you know what I mean? There's, they have taken on something controversial to do at the Cosmic Summit, okay? And so you take them and you pair them with speculators. And my kind of formulation there was, I was sitting around watching Johanna and Jimmy, and we had been to Egypt together, so I'm doing them personally.
I saw that whole series. That was great. That was good fun. I wish I was there.
Have you been on one?
No, it's in the works. But
but y'all look like the types, man. You just look like guys.
We started practicing with mounds in the area, and we want to start covering Native American mounds. really, as far as we can go in here.
Hey,
We
that's
definitely
a
wanna go
worthy
after
cause.
that.
I want to talk about some of that. But okay, so I said, let me. And I was with Hannah and Jimmy and those guys. I was like, damn it, they're like bands that have people downloading their songs by the millions, right?
Oh yeah.
But there's no concert, right? I was like, damn, if you went and put one of those people on stage, someone would have to want to come because they're downloading their songs by millions.
Yes.
And I said, okay, well, let's pair the scientist Rolodex with the speculator Rolodex, and we'll have a party, right? So, and I'll have something to do in my retirement. So I figured out a way to lose lots of money in my retirement doing exactly what I want to do. Except the lose money part.
That's the one thing is I enjoy about you is you really enjoy this shit. Like you're a fan. You're not in this for the money.
No, I'm definitely the kind of guy that is speaking to hopefully the kind of people that are just like me. I mean, I'm a sit and watch YouTube till my eyes bleed. Poor family upstairs wondering what kind of nut dad is, right?
Right.
And yeah, so that's why it's good to get people that, again, they're just not access these, but kind of same goes for the scientists. Where are you going to access an archaeologist
in a comfortable, cool environment where you get to go to different rooms, meet people, and see those same academic presentations?
Exactly.
Well, my favorite part about last year was like, so we're in a small presentation in one of the mornings. I casually look behind me and there's Robert fucking Schock sitting right behind me, right? Yeah. This doesn't happen in some of these other bigger conferences. And I got to have a conversation with him. He signed my book.
Thank you for pointing that out, Dave, because it's true.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It is. You really get to rub elbows. I'm on the phone, like talking to somebody, taking a work call or something, and then Ben Van Kerkwick starts walking down the hallway by himself, and I've watched hundreds of his videos.
Yeah.
So I got to go. And a quick, hey Ben, how's it going? Nice to meet you. I'm Dave.
Yeah.
It's like you don't really get that. Even the Friday night party, the disco party was a blast.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fun with that. We got to meet Randall.
Danny Jones made an appearance. Very cool.
Yeah, he snuck through there.
What was I going to say? About even a music festival where you go to a music festival and it has some similarities with that. I already kind of used the music analogy, but a music festival, God knows, I've got this AI camera, and when you do this hand motion.
That's what my brother's was doing, but it was sending off explosions or something. There you go.
Balloons.
Like an idiot.
Your brother was lifting his hands to shoot balloons at him.
I actually like the hat.
Do you? I guess I should. I just,
Well, we love all the stuff from last year. Shout out to George Sakalaris and his company for he's the one who made these
good guy.
for you guys, right?
Yeah. But we got a different thing going on in that. I mean, in this year.
This year, yeah.
What other aspect? Oh, you go to a music show, you don't sit down with the widespread panic while so and so's playing. You're not you don't get to sit with the bands, and then you sure as shit don't get to meet them. So I think of this as kind of like an intellectual festival, right? But the talent is mingling the whole time. And I can't think of a whole lot of things where that's true, unless they're really high dollar things, or they invite you and you pay. You'll see those where like Aspen Institute and shit like that, where if you get invited, you can pay them $5,000 to go and hang out with, noted authors and whatnot. But this ain't that.
No, it's not.
The Summit for me always felt like walking into episodes of my favorite podcast, or even room to room, like multiple, and I can sit down inside that episode.
Hell yeah, man. So we're gonna have a vase room. We're gonna have, it looks like a 3D exploration from some Hugh's drone video. We've got a field.
Is that the LiDAR room?
Yeah, LiDAR room. Oh no, LiDAR room.
Cool. I read something about LiDAR on the
That's
flyer.
right. That's that's the same thing as LiDAR room, but I was thinking there for a second, the vase scan project, there's a room there.
Oh,
There's a field trip Friday night or Friday, sunset. We're going to go up to Pilot Mountain for sunset, and that is a granite dome, but not kind of like Stone Mountain, right in Georgia, but it's even more perfect. I mean, it's a weird, cool place, and everybody ignores it up here. You ever seen it? You Googling it, Mike?
No, yeah. Brittany, will you pull that up, Brittany?
Oh, please.
What night is it?
It's Friday night, so it'd be like you get to the summit, and if you want to go on a field trip that first night, 6 to 9:30 or so, it's 45 minutes away. And buses, we can't get a quote on insurance right now. Still kind of working on it, but it might be just a drive-in. But a lot of people drive the summit anyway.
Can you spell that, George? So Brittany
it's called Pilot Mountain
in North Carolina.
And when it sets, when the sun sets, that night on the solstice, it casts a perfect east-west or whatever pyramidal shadow. Perfect pyramid.
Wow.
And it pops up, see, out of the Piedmont. North Carolina's got, 3 provinces, geological provinces. You got the coastal plain, flat as a board. That's where the Carolina Bays are. And then you got the Piedmont, which y'all are in now. Looks just like Georgia. And then you got the Appalachian Mountains. Well, way before you get to the mountains, that thing pops up.
Wow.
It's got some little scattered mountains nearby it, but the actual Appalachians are still another 70 miles.
Yep. Wow.
Go to Google image search.
Will do. Pilot Mountain.
Yeah. Just so we can kind of see the whole thing. Yeah, there's a good one.
Any particular one?
Nah, just so people get a feel for it. But
it's gorgeous. I've never heard of it.
Well, it was revered by the Native Americans, and we're going to have Yona French Hawk, who's one of a handful of true, pure-blooded Cherokees. Almost sounds politically incorrect to say that, but I've heard that's the way he's described. But he is 100% Cherokee, and he is a wisdom keeper of great note, and he's going to do a ceremony. And then Randall and Jim McKelvey, who wrote a book called Faces of Pilot Mountain, who was at the summit last year, and he had a booth with a buck. And that's how I got to know him. And he's going to give a lecture along with Randall and whatnot. And if people want to go do a little hike, but there's a great observation platform. And now, if you don't mind, Jamie, could you please call up? Could you put Pilot Mountain shadow?
Yep. For the first several weeks, I was calling Brittany Jamie for that exact.
Don't worry.
Yeah, just for shits and giggles.
I believe in heavy use of popping things up, man.
Yeah. It's too bad we can't get Dr. Greg Little. Do you know him?
Yeah, I invited him, and he
hates conferences. He said.
What a great one to pick, because I did make a run, and it was funny when I was getting all into him. I was like, I gotta have this guy. Like, I listened to several podcasts in a row, and the last one I listened to was like the most recent. He goes, "I'm never going to a conference again. I'm absolutely done with them." And I was like, shit!
Was that on ours?
He's got a conference, but I figured I could talk him into it. Usually you gotta come on.
It's always worth a try.
I mean, you've been to 500, right?
He seems like the
musical artists do it all the time.
He seems like the type who's very convicted.
I gotta check back in. He did say he could come and see. We've got a which I felt even stranger too, but that's fine. We've got a category of people called featured guests, right? That for the Snake Brothers aren't speaking this year, but they're featured guests. Yeah.
So.
I was about to say, you busted my invite. I would like you two to be featured guests.
Woo! Thank you so much, man. That would be.
Put your logo up right up there at the top.
Fantastic, my friend. That's really an honor for us, for sure. Because we've been working our butt off trying to promote the show, even if we weren't going to be featured guests.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay, hit that thing. I tell you, it's tough. I need to find. There's one of them that doesn't show it. It's like a news piece talking about the shadow, and it doesn't show it right. I need to.
In the mountains of northwest Georgia, a new golf destination awaits.
It's a golfing.
Macklemore.
Hold on, here we go.
But see, it doesn't. Yeah,
It's not going to show it.
Hold on. Let's go ahead and. I don't think I've watched the whole thing, but I did this on a podcast the other day. You think I would get the proper link and save it? What are they showing there?
Is this
Pilot Mountain and Pilot Knob.
No. Go to YouTube. This may be tedious, but if you do go to YouTube and type Pilot Mountain Shadow.
We'll let Brittany work on that while we.
Yeah. See if you can find it, Brittany. And it shows a pyramidal shadow reaching to the horizon. And it's good. It looks like a Mayan pyramid because that top part kind of looks like a little cupola on the pyramid. I mean, on the shadow. And it is quite extraordinary. Okay, so the Native Americans revered it. The Cherokee revered it. They had a huge thing called the Corn Festival there, where all the nations would gather to revere it. I mean, and the Cherokee, think about it. The Cherokee live closer to you guys than live to Pilot Mountain. They live way tucked back in the Appalachian Mountains, way west of Asheville. Right? So when they came to Pilot Mountain, first of all, yeah, there you go. Look at that. Thank you, Brittany. Yep. Perfect.
Ricardo Calvario from History, Myths, and Legends asks, is it the Crystal Mountain with strange electricity?
Yeah. There are all sorts of claims of strange electricity. Never felt it myself, but it's definitely a crystalline mountain.
What a great idea to have a little field trip. That's a nice little touch.
You could see the Corey Center from there. It's 45 minutes away. You see downtown Greensboro, you probably pick out that giant hotel. Not in this view. I think it's a little to the right. But point is, you grow up around there, and you don't pay any attention at all. Yeah, it's Pilot Mountain. But then when Jim explained it all to me, and I always thought it was odd because I was into geology and stuff. But when Jim explained the Native American stuff, I was like, hold on, you mean the Cherokee came out of the mountains? I can't even picture in all my study of the Cherokee. I never even thought of them ever stepping into the Piedmont. But they would come and join other nations at the Corn Festival, apparently. And the apocryphal story is you had to remove your moccasins 20 miles out.
20 miles.
And another interesting thing, if you were one of Scott Walter's, transatlantic explorers, washed up or otherwise deliberate or whatever, but you're coming into North Carolina, which is the first place settled in North America, right, by the Lost Colony. Yep. So it's got a history of, people will walk in from there. And you walked in from there, you would get to this would be the first big hill you saw. How weird would that be? That's why they called it Mount Ararat for 100 years or whatnot. Gave it a biblical name.
That's from somewhere else. Okay, yeah, all right, there you go. I was like, why do I recognize that name? Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so, are we still doing the disco party, or is it going to be a different theme after this, or after the field trip?
We have a wrap-up party on Monday night.
Okay.
And we have a screening of, we hadn't signed the contract yet, but I think we're going to be okay. With a great group. That's why I know we're going to be okay. We're going to screen a new documentary, an unreleased documentary that is very well, highly produced. We're going to screen it Saturday night. Or no, Sunday night.
Can you give us a sneak peek of what the documentary is? Or?
No, because the end of it is so astounding that we have agreed not to tell anybody.
Okay.
I'm serious, man.
It's not the Brian Corey Dobbs one, is it?
No. This is Michael Donnellan.
Okay.
And then you can find it. God, man, I actually started a folder to go links that I need on podcasts commonly.
Right.
I mean, come on. I'm doing these things. This is serious work, and I don't even prepare.
Yeah, I have 3 of those folders, and they don't always have the links that I need.
Right.
So
they have a beautiful trailer on YouTube.
Let's pull that up.
You want to try to pull it up? I'm sorry, I'm keeping you busy here.
Yo, you're good, man. You're good. What do I put in YouTube for it?
Atlantica, which is Atlantic ice, is with a C, so Atlantica. And then maybe type in Donnellan, Donnellan.
Yeah, there it is. Michael Donnellan.
Yeah. Does it look like a trailer?
It does. 1 minute and 37
Oh,
seconds.
please
You want
play it, man. Yeah,
let's
the whole
play
thing.
it. All right, let me go ahead and share screen.
Premiering at the Cosmic Summit the night after the big reveal of the Cafre Scan project.
Man, you're putting together a banger this year, George.
It is, man. It's going to be good.
All right, let's check this out.
If anyone had told me 6 years ago that we would go in search of Atlantis, I would have said they were crazy. And yet, here we are, knowing what we know. Not a myth, not a legend. Atlantis was real. The lost empire Plato described in such precise detail actually existed. I have seen these structures with
This guy's
my
a
own
badass.
eyes. I have touched them with my own hands. These years of field research are about to write a whole new chapter in human history. They will help resolve those eternal questions of where we came from and how we got here. Pinpointing the exact location of Atlantis was to be just the beginning. What I knew then and what I know now, well, see for yourself.
Coming to the Cosmic Summit, the U.S. premiere at what time? 9 p.m. Saturday, June 21st, first day of summer.
Wow.
Ooh.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for showing that.
I'm pumped. No problem. No problem. You have another filmmaker that we interviewed, Brian Dobbs.
Great new friend.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Great guy.
Do you mind if I show you a quick short I made of our interview?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
No, I went to New York with Brian.
Okay.
And he stayed at my beach house with me, him and his
Very
girlfriend for a couple nights. Yeah, it was when he interviewed me.
He was gracious enough to come on our show. I think we're going to kick off Cosmic Mondays with him likely. But let's check it out. This is just a quick 1 minute short. I don't even want to get into it, but I made this today. So here we go. Let's check it out.
What you know about Mars?
Oops, wrong one. I don't know how that happened.
No worries.
Got the right one. There we go.
We have a wide variety of shorts.
And it was a real photograph.
Mm-hmm.
But I accepted the conventional explanation, was it was just so happened to look like a face on Mars. And of course, that still could be the case. But I've got evidence to suggest that it's not just a natural landform. And it's not me who has the evidence. It's the work of much more qualified people who offer quantitative scientific analysis published in research papers. So I'm like, oh man, there's something else going on here with Mars. This is interesting. And then I'm like, gosh, I was thinking, why hasn't anybody made a documentary about this? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm thinking about this. And then I came across the work of another gentleman by the name of Dr. John Brandenburg. And I read his book. And we can get into it later. But after I read his book, I stayed up for about 3 nights because I couldn't sleep. Because what I learned in that book was terrifying.
Boom.
He's great.
Yeah. And
now I'm taking issue with him. When we watched his documentary, I'd seen it once before, but we watched it down at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And I just figured I'd take the skeptard role.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just started pummeling him, man. And he's got some good stuff, right?
Yeah, he does.
And I could get into the face and stuff. And I'm so fucking open-minded that I love it all, right? But
yeah, me too. But I'm open. I'm open-minded to going both directions.
You know, if the face in Mars turns people off, he's got a lot more than that. But he is reassessing it. And where we share a love is life on Mars, right? And microbial life.
Mm-hmm.
And panspermia in general. And that's become a big offshoot of what he's doing, is now become good friends with Dr. Richard Hoover and in touch with Chandra, my buddy. And
Dr. Chandra's presentation last year was one of the coolest. Opened my eyes to that whole entire theory of panspermia. I think it's a pretty
man, it
likely
is
candidate.
rock solid,
The universe is
dude.
teaming with
It's a
life.
passion with me.
Universe.
I mean, it's right one notch below the Younger Dryas event for me, because I've been in touch with Chandra for, I don't know, 15 years. And and I just want to see him vindicated, man. And I love it because the Younger Dryas event, you know, you're never going to find some video, you know, okay, here's the comet and all of that. It's not going to break one day and be true. It's going to be a slow roll. And but as soon as they admit the obvious fact that they're microbes entombed in a desiccated, frozen, just add water and heat form, right, inside of comet material, which you could, you know, some of that comet dust, which is most of the cosmic dust that comes in, is actually comet dust. Some of it's visible. I mean, it's not, you know, you don't have to get a atomic microscope to see it. You know what I'm saying? So it's something visible. Then you go put a viral particle in it, or a diatom, right? It's a million times larger than it is. It's a great spaceship for something like that. And it doesn't even have to be alive. So what happens is you bring up microbes in space, people are like, oh, nothing can live in space, because we picture it as this vast, you know, completely lifeless thing, when actually most of the dust out there contains
tardigrades, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe not. Yeah. At some point, tardigrades came in, but they're not floating around out there. But it would have been probably a more extraordinary thing, or a bigger piece of, you know, who knows. But everything that as Chandra says, you know, life is intrinsic, you know, it's timeless, and it's just a part of things. Don't think of it as something that popped up here. And that's, you know, Aristotle told us two things. He said, the sun revolves around us, right? And that all life started in a little warm pool of water. And it took 1,500 years to toss that first one out, right? He was dead fucking wrong. Right. We orbit the sun. And it's taken significantly longer, embarrassingly long, to get rid of the other one. But it is stuck in our head, just like they think, just like we think that everything went around us. It's a perfect analogy to it. In fact, it shared a father, right? Where it is just, we are the biggest, baddest thing that ever was. And it's still, so you'll find all these people think of themselves as open-minded, and, you know, maybe they all into like cultural diversity and, you know, all this kind of stuff. But then they'll be the most arrogant sons of bitches in the world and completely dismiss that this could be there, because they think somebody would have told them by now. But they're all sorts of stuff. So they've swiped the space station 10 times and came back with microbial remnants. And I've been through this ad nauseum on podcasts. I give you all a link where you can go, people can go read up on this, because it's two key papers that were presented by the Russians, who had space station material. If you've got stuff from the space station, you're a credible scientist right off the bat. So these are the real deal people. And they said, yeah, we found life, and either it came from above or below. Okay, if it came from above, everything changes. If it came from below, which is, there's no known mechanism, everything changes. They ruled out contamination, right? I mean, yeah, I suppose 10 times could be contaminated and all that, but let's say contamination's ruled out. So you either have to have a mechanism that it's brought up, like some of it was plankton from the Barents Sea. Okay, so they said either the waves create a froth, and that froth let loose some planktons, and the planktons, by an unknown electro, you know, swirly process, are lofted 400 fucking kilometers into goddamn low Earth orbit. I mean, no, man. But here's the thing: if that's true, then panspermia is true too.
Exactly.
Because it means we're breathing.
Because that means they could keep going and end up somewhere else.
That paper,
and they got here from somewhere
totally
else.
Crickets. And then so they equivocated in it. And then the lead author, Russian scientist Tivia Grebenikova, woman scientist, the lady who discovered life in space, is who she'll one day be known as. She was the lead of the first paper. They equivocated. I mean, it was amazing data, but they agreed. Oh, by the way, they swiped the windows with a tampon, which everybody found funny on Danny Jones, and we did a short of it. Got like,
Right.
you know, we got my
I
biggest
saw that
one.
one.
Got 6 million views. Yeah, I mean, he said the Russians took a tampon, and then thousands of people commenting on there go, tampons aren't sanitary, man. You're a dumbass. You know, nobody uses a tampon. You're like, look, man, they don't go make new pieces of things to do stuff like that. They will use, if a tampon is appropriate, they will sterilize it, and they're going to use a tampon.
As a combat medic who's been in combat, I've plugged bullet holes with tampons.
Yeah. That's right. It's a little form factor that can do a lot of shit for you, including wipe the window of the space station. And they were wiping the big tourist window, and they come back with all this stuff. Okay.
And Danny's the master of titles, YouTube titles, by the way. So it's
titles are so outrageous and outlandish.
That's why I knew he would have to put tampon in the title. That's the reason why it got a gazillion views, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So so that's how we get going on that thread, for God's sakes.
Oh, you were talking about, yeah, I mean, I this might sound basic, but like that's how life spreads just here on Earth, right? And pollination and stuff like that. Life carries other life, other places. Seeds and the wind blows, you know. I don't see why the same thing doesn't happen just on a massive cosmic scale. Yeah, exactly.
And as I confirmed with Chandra after being in touch with him for years, but you don't ask some of the most basic questions. I was like, hey, the way I see this, that means given God knows what factors, we've got all this diversity on Earth that we all think came from here, which is just so bad.
Just came out of a puddle.
Yeah. And the Cambrian explosion, they must have doubled down on puddles because 7,000 species pop up in a million years. You know, you're like, what? And
turns out the Earth goes.
Yeah, and it turns out something hit the Earth for that too, and then it boomed. Okay, so I said, Chandra, does that mean that some worlds out there are kind of spider worlds, and other worlds are whaley, and other worlds are, you know, just heavy on the reptiles? Now, they might also have whales and whatnot, but it'd be a different balance just depending on things. And I don't think we're some ideal place. We're always described as it, and yes, it's diverse, but there are probably places more diverse, and we're just collection plates for DNA, and you still have Darwinian evolution, for God's sakes. I mean, the finches beaks still shrink and all that shit.
It's observable.
But goddamn, when a squid turns into an octopus in the blink of an eye, that's not because it was handier to have 8 arms or whatever. I mean, come on, man. And they actually wrote a paper called The Octopus from Space. It was an article in Cosmos magazine. And I'll give you all a link. Well, this live stream, but called The Octopus from Space, and it lays it all out. And it says the reason they gave that catchy title is because they don't know the things. You know, they go through all the microorganism stuff and the DNA stuff because it's working by, you know, reverse transcription or whatnot. You know, it comes in, works its way into the DNA. And the it's working its way into the DNA at the same time you're evolving. Otherwise, and you have big jumps, it just makes a lot of damn sense.
Yes. So, punctuated equilibrium.
That's right.
And then in the interim periods, it is survival of the fittest, and you get these. If you have a slight edge for hundreds of years, that little slight edge does.
That's right.
But then something catastrophic happens, and the whole playing field gets leveled, and everyone has.
As the director of the Comet Research, Dr. West, told me once, he said, Earth's history is characterized by long periods of quiescence, interrupted by short moments of trauma. Quiescence, you know, just everything's fucking peachy, and then wow,
that's a great
what do you say to people who like oh that's fear mongering? Because that's what Graham Hancock, they say, oh, like he's just fear mongering about the end of the world.
Well, we try to strike the line.
It's a good question, man. I got kind of a snappy answer. I'm not a fear monger. I don't do that. I never talk about the future.
Right.
I have a blog, which, you know, I ain't blogging much these days, but it's got 1,000 posts on it, and not one on there is NASA saw a big rock that's going to pass the distance of,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
I mean, there's plenty of that out there, and I call them repent. The crazier ones are like repent.
Apophis is coming to destroy us.
Apophis is coming.
We covered a little.
We covered a little Apophis here.
And when I started the Cosmic Summit, because all of our papers are just talking about past evidence impacts, I said to myself, you got to kind of pick your fights. I said, I want to be rear facing. My role to assist in this, if we ever come to the realization of what the truth is, one of the best ways to know what the fuck's going to happen in the future is the past.
Is to understand the past, yes.
And particularly for something so seemingly, obvious in ways. But looking around out there for objects, and there are millions of dollars, probably should be billions of dollars spent. All that's worthy. They're looking at the wrong shit. They need to look at incoming comets. Right, new comets, and that end up fragmenting. That's the big problem. But they're looking out at iron asteroids or asteroids in general, and that's helpful. But for the price, even of that small program, a fraction of the price of that small program, you could go and soil sample the whole Earth using the protocols that the Comet Research Group has defined, which is all basic laboratory stuff, and prove without a doubt that 13,000 years ago we had a bad event. But people don't look at it like, I don't know. People don't think of archaeology and space in the same part of their brain.
It's interesting how people aren't.
That's why we provide this show. Yes, everyone needs to start doing that. That's why we talk about the same things every week.
We literally talk about this every week. The Younger Dryas. We show asteroids and that are close. We do all kinds of stuff.
And I'm not knocking y'all. Do your repent stuff. I'm just rear facing.
Well, and we try to strike a balance because we talk about solar flares and asteroids, but we say we're hope mongering. Knowing about what's going on is cool. It's cool to understand what happens.
We literally go right to NASA's website. We show the Eyes in the Sky app that they use, and we just talk about what's in our cosmic neighborhood. I don't think it's fear mongering to just understand that, hey, we're on a planet and there's a bunch of shit up there and we're interacting with it.
It's not fear mongering. It's telling people the truth. And then they get scared.
Exactly.
It's like, damn, fear mongering is when you're lying, or misleading. But no, people will get, and it's so weird. I'm so jaded on the shit now. I mean, I remember kind of it used to chill me sometimes, thinking about the event when I was first getting my brain around it 25 years ago. And, but here's another bottom line is for me, to help put threat in perspective, that on my life, my kid's life, my grandkids' life basis, what you're concerned about. I am so much more concerned about a solar event than a comet fragment, because, for obvious reasons, you're smart guys, you can already add it up, I mean, a solar event that we're pre-existing fragile,
right.
And it gets everybody. Well, the most likely thing we'd see with comet fragments would be like another Tunguska, and it would be like, in the Arctic or 75% of the world's water. You hope it doesn't hit a city. Everybody always talks about if it hits a city, was very unlikely it's going to hit a city. In fact, I hope we have one and it happens in a well-monitored part of the Pacific, well away from ships, and we watch the whole thing. But if you had another Tunguska, that would be dangerous, and maybe it's over city and kills a bunch of people. But you have something that is far more common, in my opinion, Miyake events, and it's literally lights out.
Far more global.
Global. It just has to be of enough magnitude, and that magnitude has occurred a half dozen times in the last fucking 1,000 years. I mean, come on, this is not hard stuff, man. And we gave we didn't even have a transformer stockpile, and then we fucking give them to Ukraine. Shipped our damn transformers, and I've always been worried about that. And then I read, oh great, I was already worried about a transformer shortage, and we're fucking giving them away.
Well, I saw something on the news this evening about how rural hospitals in Georgia are having trouble because they don't have good high-speed internet connections. And somehow in our technologically advanced society, that translates to people not getting cared for and helped as quickly as they need to be in these rural hospitals. And I'm just sitting here thinking, we're so dependent on the internet. Like, we ought to be getting the internet out from these hospitals and just getting people fixed efficiently. If we have to do pencil and paper, let's do it that way. Because guess what? If you're struggling with the internet today, wait till that solar flare hits. Guess the internet.
Oh my God.
You
Well,
better
and
hope
kind
for
of back to
running
the
water.
Ukraine
If you get
thing.
running water,
They ain't hurting for bandwidth. You know, a platoon, a Ukrainian army platoon has Starlink out the ass, provided free.
Wow.
Right?
Mhm.
I mean, you can't get it to a school in Georgia, but you can fund a war where people will use it to kill people.
Priorities, man.
We already
Yeah.
decided
Our
to-
cultural priorities are way out of whack.
Well,
you know?
we're doing our best to.
We're an anti-war show.
Y'all are
Dave's a vet,
contributing.
not a
I'm
vet.
contributing.
Dave's a
There are a
vet.
lot
I'm
more
not a
people
vet.
that think right than wrong. It's just getting the mic from the people who think wrong.
I think that's a good way to look at it. I'm going to try to quote that in a short. But it's funny you bring up the solar flare event, because it's one of the things we cover on our show weekly is Mike does the solar weather, the weekly solar weather.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, those things scare the shit out of me.
Or
Oh
maybe-
God, it's a great opportunity. Y'all know Stefan Burns?
Yes, I like his channel. He's got
Featured
some funny
guest.
YouTube videos. He's really
Talked to him
smart.
yesterday.
Oh,
Yes,
cool.
Stefan's
Let's meet
coming.
him. We're gonna meet him. That's
Hell
awesome.
yeah, you will meet the great Stefan
He's a
Burns
geophysicist.
and Jay Anderson. I think I mentioned him already, but no, Stefan's coming. But I can't watch those videos because it gets me all scared. Where the comment shit doesn't scare me at all, but I'm just like, God, man, can't.
Yeah, Rob.
Well, we're learning that dabbling in YouTube, you can lean into the clickbait thumbnails, the titles. It's part of the game. It depends on how far in the game you want to go in that
Yeah,
direction.
Robert Schock definitely scared the shit out of me with his solar flare thing last year. I was firmly in the camp of like, it's got to be a fragmented comet with Graham Hancock and the Comet Research Group. But now I think it's a combination of both. But the solar flare event is really what's the scariest. I agree.
Yeah, but don't do the combo thing, man.
No, why not? What's wrong with the combo
You got to pick
thing?
your sides. That's everybody trying to intellectually compromise, and then they came up with something that's kind of mechanically impossible. I mean, you got to change one thing or the other fundamentally, because what people would then be thinking is the Taurid meteor stream somehow dips into the sun occasionally and hits Earth. Nah, you don't have things
that wouldn't make sense.
We're thousands of times further from the sun than the width of the sun itself. I mean, there's a lot of space out there. You're not going to have, I suppose I really would like a cosmologist to answer this for me sometime.
Sure.
But my guts, and I have to some degree asked the question. I don't remember the exact answers, but it's not really possible or likely. You're not going to have a train of debris that encounters the sun and the earth at the same more or less time.
What kind of time frame are you talking? Because if it's like 800 years apart, is that far enough apart to like?
Could be, but I don't think that wouldn't be the same meteor stream. It would have to be another event kicking off a sun, or it would have to be a solar event on its own that doesn't include it. I just know a lot of people say that whatever hit the earth also crashed into the sun, right? But if you're saying it was a discrete sun event and happened to occur within 800 years, and believe you me, I also think Robert could be right, and my own publishing team could be wrong.
Yeah.
I'm an old Electric Universe guy to some extent. So whatever, I'm kind of all over the map because people are getting probably saying, well, this guy needs to settle down and figure out what he thinks, but that's just not.
Well, you're open-minded.
I like the galactic. I like this galactic magnetic spiral idea that there's a ripple of magnetism that propagates through the galaxy. And as it passes the inflection point, or as that inflection point passes stars, stars tend to go poof.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that propagates through, and then as far as that wave, all the stars around that wave are going poof.
But just to be clear, again, I think they're terrible days with the sun. I think they're terrible things with galactic things. I think a lot of that sounds like there's something to it. I think they're terrible days with the Taurid meteor stream. But I know that 12,888 years ago, sometime in June, in my humble opinion, that we had a bad day on planet Earth simultaneously in about a 6-hour period or so. And that's a fucking fact. There are very few things. It's funny. We just went through the open-minded stuff, showed how squishy I can be on stuff. It takes me a long time to say something like that for what it's worth. You know, that, and it's just, that happened. And that's the most important thing that ever happened. That's why, you know, we're the textile covered ape with the black mirror. You know,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
Textile covering. Yeah, that's us.
Yeah, you know, it's what kicked us off. It's the most important thing that ever happened. So that always makes it a worthy subject in my book.
Yeah.
Is it worthy? Well, it's the most important thing that ever happened. Well, I have a conference on that.
To our iteration of humanity. I mean, if humanity's possibly 300,000 years old, I don't know where you sit on that, but like modern human anyway, we could have had several cyclical, catastrophes that reset us. I don't.
Oh, sure.
I don't close my mind to any of that.
Oh, no.
So I was pulling this up. I'm just going to share it real quick. I believe we showed this image before on the show. We're referring to the end of the last ice age.
Yeah, for those who don't know what we're talking about.
Well, the coolest thing about that graph, the younger dry ice and the event would have happened right that first big drop.
Mm-hmm.
But look how everything, if you could see further to the left, it's just a crazy ride for 100,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a killer. If you guys want to steal some slides, man.
Yeah, we do definitely.
God, so underutilized. But on the Cosmic Tusk, there's a drop down. I think it's called Resources, and then it's public PDF. I mean, not PDF. Okay. I think I actually put the actual PowerPoint up there, but I've got some perfect graphs. But yeah, you can see how quiescent and calm. I mean, whatever happened in that last thing, we came out of it. And it's kind of like God says, I'm going to give you another chance and make it really nice for a while. Let you grow up. I'm going to get right into God. But it wasn't just another wild period. There weren't any other really wild periods. It came out and then we lived it's just a whole different climate.
Yeah.
Very stable climate. And before that, it was just wilder than wild.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of the last ice age and changes, did you see the news about the dire wolves? Mm-hmm. This is an ice age species which has been revived and cloned Jurassic Park style, as far as I know. This has been covered in mainstream news. I think Dave has a short video clip prepared that we were going to chat about today. What's your take on this right away, George?
I think it's great. I mean, it's not they modified a dog to be a lot more like a dire wolf, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's great. I mean, that's where you got to start. So these things are huge developments. And of course, the kind of clickbaity thing is that you're going to have a giant wolf that looks like the thing in a museum.
Or Game of Thrones or whatever.
but what I'm rooting on, do I have? It's not in my old office, but is the one of the target species for revival is the Carolina parakeet.
Okay.
All right, which was this. It was actually a parrot called a Carolina parakeet, but the damn thing was 12 inches long. This colorful parrot that when we settled North America was the most common bird in the swamps of eastern North Carolina or on the East Coast. It was the most common bird. So, settlers saw the trees filled with, thousands and thousands and thousands of these parrots. But they had an unfortunate trait, kind of a sweet one, where if you killed one, the others would mourn it. They're called sympathetic birds or whatever, some kind of term like that. But if you killed one, the others would go gather around and mourn it. So you only had to take 2 shots and you could kill a whole flock, right? And they
dropped the first
one.
And
they loved seeds, and they were just considered a pest. And I think that their feathers were valuable. So we hunted them. The last one died in 1916 in the Cleveland Zoo. But see, that seems like a pretty easy thing to bring back. I don't know, or at least if you brought it back, it wouldn't be complicated to, like, you bring back a mammoth, you got to house him, Oh yeah. And I got an idea for that, actually. Some of that mitigation land would be perfect for it. That we put these big easements on it forever to protect these birds. Called
mammoth mitigation banking.
Right, with a mammoth.
See it now.
Right.
Let's go.
We've got this. There's this one ranch that is our partner in Kansas. Is 55,000 acres. Those people got 100 square miles. So
there's room for
exactly, man. Because
as technology exponentially, increases with the AI and quantum computing in the works and stuff like that, this we're going to be able to do some shit like this. I'm 43. I'm hoping we got a mammoth on your ranch in you know, and by the time I'm 80.
Yeah,
you know?
no. I was talking with somebody about that. Well, don't say that, because we got to hope I can get it. Right?
Okay. Well, by the time I'm 50, then,
okay, yeah. By the time you're 50, which I think we were talking about it yesterday. That let's say because you don't have to be in good shape to enjoy the mammoth. It could be your last day on Earth. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You just got to get there. So let's just say hope we live to 85. So what am I? Almost turned 60, 70. Okay, 25 years. So that's the window.
Yeah.
That sounds generous. I think it'd do that. Whatever. Good God.
I think it's doable.
Yeah. Now you have some delays with they got to have babies, and you got to do generations. That's mostly the problem, time wise.
Yeah, there's probably societal pushback about stuff like this as well. I would think I just think about like cloning in the 90s, and everyone's like, the sheep they cloned, they're playing God. But I think at this point, the cat's out of the bag.
Exactly.
So
I was just thinking genie out of the bottle. Exactly. No, you ain't putting that toothpaste back in the tube.
I remember when I was a little kid and the Human Genome Project was like, this is one of the greatest scientific undertakings, the greatest endeavors we've ever ventured. And then it's like, they did finish it eventually. I remember it was kind of quiet. They never really mentioned anything. They've had all these codes on lockdown.
Yeah.
They got a recipe book back there.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, I gotta get on and eat. I told y'all ahead of time that I was hungry, but
no worries, my friend.
Thank you so
much. But I couldn't
George,
have enjoyed it more, gentlemen. And I'm so excited about your show. We need to have a dedicated call to figure out how you can best help, and we can help y'all. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
But really collaborate on some things. And I appreciate Cosmic Monday. And I will be.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome.
I'll be tuning in and retweeting and posting and whatnot. Mike and Dave's Multiverse. Awesome. Gotta love it.
We'll tag you in everything we put out. It was a pleasure having you on the show, sir. We look forward to meeting you in person in June.
Terrific. Okay, people, go to the website, check it out, and buy a ticket now so I can fucking sleep, man.
Also, we got cosmictusk.com down below. We got in the chat, we're going to put Cosmic Summit down below in the chat as well. Yeah, Mike and Dave are going to be there. Meet Rub Elbows with all your favorite podcasters.
We want you
George Howard himself
at the Cosmic Summit. I need to whip this.
Come
thing.
on
It's a little mammoth.
Go on a field trip.
Go
on a field trip with Randall Carlson. Love it, man. Love it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it to the summit and put it on the thing this year.
It should be the talking stick.
Yeah, found in the North Sea. It's not YD related. It's 40,000 years old. Okay, just had to whip out the first time I've had that prop on a show.
Very cool.
Okay,
Thanks for showing us.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, fellas.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
Okay.